Uncanny Spider-Man.
Actively hostile to the reader. It's trying to trick us, and it's saying, ha ha, we tricked you. Go read something else because we've cut out the interesting part of this book. There was an interesting scene. We cut it out. You have to buy something else to see the scene that you want to see. There's a blank page. Go buy another book.
And that's the worst part of it. You said it. The worst. You said that the kick butt sentence of that is that this is what we've been reading to get to. It's not like all of a sudden there was something cool, like some other character comes in, like, oh, they're going to talk, and we don't get to see that because it's going to be in Uncanny Avengers, right? Cap comes down. This is the one thing.
Right. The central premise of this series is not in the series.
No. And you find out in the penultimate issue, like, go screw yourself. I mean, it's so crazy. But this is Uncanny Spider-Man #4, Slice and Dice. It's written by Cy Spurrier, art by Lee Agarabit, Matt Miller on colors, DC's Joe Caramagna on letters, and Tom Muller and Jay Bowen on design. They're designing stuff, and if they designed that one page of, they did talk, but you're not going to find out anything about it. They need somebody to come and, I don't know. I don't want to get anything crazy here, but it's infuriating. And when you go into this, I was even thrown off throughout because it has become more. Well, actually, this issue really, because of what happens in that, hey, go read this other thing, it really doesn't matter much. I mean, you do get some things happen with Kurt. It ends up revealing that indeed he was just trying to not think about what's happened with Orcus and the X-Men and all that stuff, which we kind of knew before, but it's actually spelled out with that. But we want to see him talk to his mom. We want to see him talk to Mystique.
Exactly.
He keeps trying to do it and then can't.
And there's some weird conversations in this issue where everyone is speaking like pop psychology, like characters who shouldn't be speaking that way. Like Mystique, who's currently out of her own frickin' mind, is acting like Dr. Phil. And then, and Silver Sable, who's so far only been interested in sex and money, is suddenly talking just the same way. Clearly, Cy Spurrier has like some subtext. And the way he got the subtext in the book was just have some characters say it out loud.
Yeah, it's so funny you said what you said, because my one note is Mystique has multiple personalities. Why is one Dr. Phil? Because that's what it feels like. And all of a sudden it becomes, when you have Mystique, it's so off. But even then you start off with, like, you have Peter and Spider-Man, and it's just weird. Like, some of the things, pizza dude good, mob violence bad, and he's like going against their chants, but it doesn't play out well in my mind. Because
every X book these days has to have an anti-mutant protest march, which we've seen in every book, and getting kind of tired of it. And yeah, there's just kind of a generic scene for that, just to have Mystique show up with a bazooka.
A bazooka?
And they said, oh, she stole it, but where do you steal a bazooka from?
I don't know.
And then Kurt says, oh, she can create cavities in her body to hide things. It's a bazooka. I mean, what kind of a prison wall does she have that fits a bazooka? And don't Google that, because I don't want to see that video.
I don't either. A bazooka. This isn't like a shiv or a handgun or oh my goodness.
And she's aiming the rocket from the bazooka at the protesters. So she's about to commit mass human murder because she doesn't like their signs. And somehow Kurt grabs the rocket out of the air and throws it into the mouth of a sentinel. I don't know how bazookas work. I don't think that's how bazookas work. And I also don't know why sentinels have mouths, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah, that is weird, too. I mean, they want to be anatomically correct. And even then, like...
It's like, why do they have that Death Star, vent opening right in their mouth?
Yeah, it's very odd. Why would they have that?
Stay on target.
While that's going on, and really they're rounding up Pizza Dude, who has the second or third best pizza.
It's showing that people have been whipped up into a frenzy by Orcus, right? They're so anti-mutant that this one guy showed some sympathy for the mutants, who apparently were really good tippers when he delivered pizza to them. And because he did something nice to the mutants, oh, you must be a mutant, we're going to get you. But it turns out he's not a mutant.
No, and even then, like, we're dealing with Pizza Dude. And then you have a conversation. Hey, that's the second best slice, maybe the third. Hey, get it, everybody? Like, everybody can be different. We all have our slices. Like, get out of town. Because I'm waiting. Okay. You have the Banff that's talking to Kurt. You kind of go a little bit more with that of like, hey, my boss this, and you think I'm not real. well, I am, I'm doing this. But even then, it's still just you're sitting on your duff and you're not doing anything because you went. And then we get it repeated later. We get it repeated Silver Sable, all these things. And by the end, I'm like, I don't know why we had to have this issue to really anger me, because me and you have actually been enjoying this more than some people. A lot of people won't go past the idea of, I'm not going to read Nightcrawler as Spider-Man. We were having some fun at the beginning. We thought it was kind of a cool way.
It's one of the better Fall of X minis, at least it has been up until now.
Yeah, we've liked it. And then you get to this, and I'm like, well, did you actually have a story, or was this just all set up for that other one-shot? Because that's what it seems like it is now. Because even at the end where we're going to go forward and next month when it finishes, or maybe next week, you can never tell with the scheduled release of this book. When we get it, it's just now that you have to get Kurt out of the situation he's in at the end, and maybe, saying to Silver Sable, hey, it was nice having some sex with you on the rooftops, but seeing a Sayonara sucker, I don't know. Because even the stuff with Vulture and things in this just feels really kind of rushed. And maybe it's just because I'm not reading all the X books, but it just feels like not enough is happening suddenly in a book where we wanted that one thing to happen and we're not going to get it. But you give me the rundown, because I'm telling you, I'm going through, and after you end up having Mystique and the bazooka, then it just kind of feels like we're just going to kind of like throw some stuff
thing,
at them.
It seems like in all the X books, Orchis thinks they've won, right? So they don't really have an enemy right now. There's a lot of infighting within Orchis. It's a very decentralized organization. Every group has their own little villain trying to do their own little thing, which I can kind of see that sort of makes sense. If they think they've won, now they've got a little bit of hubris going on. Now they're, the organization starts to break down once their big victory has been accomplished. So I'm okay with that. But yeah, it's weird. We don't really know why they hired Toombs. I was hoping to see more of where that comes from. And I guess he hired Silver Sable, but he wants her to go away now, but she won't go away because of her code, her honor. And she only gets paid if her team brings in Kurt, not the Hounds, who are like working directly for her.
Yeah, and so when you get that, you even have where the big, conflict for her, she likes Kurt. They end up where, and
yeah,
again,
they have
the big play of
a date, and call me crazy, Jim, but if I were a Spider-Man, any Spider-Man, and I wanted to have a date with my lady friend, the last place I would go is the top of a bridge in New York City.
You don't want to go to a New York
bridge.
It's
bad mojo.
it is bad mojo. And even with that, I wish that Peter swung by and just saw this and went, really, dude?
Come on.
Come
Too soon.
there. Oh, my God. So that's going on. They're having their date, and the big play has been, hey, are we going to be with helmets on, helmets off, masks on, masks off? The idea that Silver Sable said, listen, I like hanging out with you. We have the booty time, but when it's work hours, I am actively going to try to get you because the
weird dynamic, but kind of a fun one. Like just keep it that black and white. Yes and no, on duty, off duty. Punch in, punch out, so to speak. But now she gets Dr. Phil all up in here too. Again, telling Nightcrawler about how he needs to, I don't know what Kurt needs to do, but you're running away from your problems, pretending to be
that whole
Spider-Man.
Play. Yeah, you're trying to be Spider-Man to get rid of your problems. You have to deal with the mutants. The mutants have had some issues. Why don't you deal with them? And Kurt starts getting angry. Hey, what do I have to do with that? I dealt with them enough. Oh, my goodness. And actually says at one point, screw you, I'm out of here. She grabs onto them, so they bamf away. He's mad about that, and that's when he gets all upset. Why can't I do my own thing? Why do I have to deal with that crap and all that? Which does seem to get him a little more inspired to go talk to his mom in another book. But in the meantime, he's just like, I got to get out of here. And we get back to the whole play of masks, unmasked, all that.
So they seem to set it up that it is going to be, if her helmet's on, she's on duty. Her helmet's off, she's off duty. But then she gets blackmail, which I'm surprised she lets this happen. She got blackmailed by the one character, Kramer, we saw at the end of the first issue, really the only member of her team who has like an actual characterization, a name and a face. And he's upset because he thinks that she's going to call off this whole get Kurt thing, and he wants the money. But I can't believe that Silver Sable would let him do this to her.
Is this supposed to be the idea that she's I think he's mad because he has a Santa coat on, And then he gets there, and the idea where she says, you're just mad because you lost your money betting the bar with no name. And he's like, yeah, you're right. But it's out of nowhere. I mean, it's not because and it's the one character, but still it's out of nowhere. You pull a gun
on Silver Sable, you're dead meat. He says the thing, but I've told everybody else about it too, but I just don't buy that. Right. And what does he think? He thinks that they're going to go back and just continue working together now after you've pulled a gun on your boss?
And that's the thing. She even says to him, I could destroy you 3 ways from Sunday. Right now, it'd take me 2 seconds. And that's when he says, well, do you think I didn't plan for that? I have like that classic like movie type deal. But with Silver Sable, I don't think she would give a crap. I really don't. And the idea where this is the blackmail just to be the blackmail. And I just thought it was kind of ridiculous because then we go and the one thing that I like is I like that Kurt is going around and he's asking the people in the park. That makes sense. I mean, I was set up.
Yeah.
It's the only thing.
The interspersed panels where while the Silver Sable blackmail thing's going on, Kurt's going off and looking for his mom. So some panels here, some panels there.
And again, if you just had tuned in the big play Mystique, after all that went down, she's lost her mind. And she keeps yelling, they have my baby, they have my baby. At one point, Kurt almost told her a little earlier, like, no, you're not thinking right, whatever. But then he ends up not telling. Here he comes to her and says, Mystique. And we're like, oh, right.
For 4 issues, why does he not unmask? Why does he not tell Mystique who he is? And here, he finally says, we need to talk, takes off his mask. Oh, exciting. You turn the page, and it's just a black page, white letters that says, and they do, with a footnote saying, go buy another book. That page is the biggest screw you I've ever seen in a comic book. Like, oh my God. Just so blatant. I mean, I know comic books want us to go read other comic books. I get that. I understand how the medium works. But this is just a full page. We cut out a scene. The scene happens right here. It's happening right now. We're just not going to show you until you give us more money. It's like one of those video games where you have to pay to open up a chest or something.
Yeah, it is. It's, drink more Ovaltine. This whole deal. And what drives me nuts is, do you agree with me that we need to talk, mask, perfect cliffhanger, and it would feel actually a little better to me that you then go and read. And then at the end of the one shot, it ends up showing Kurt kind of getting captured. I understand that they want to get Kurt captured by the end of this, but really why and how? And it's just ridiculous that, and they do. Hey, we need to talk, and they do. Basically, like you said, a deleted scene, but shouldn't be. And now we have to go off and buy another book. Like, that is awful. That is awful. Usually when you have these kind of things, you'll play the idea that if you want a little more, you'd go and get the one shot, but you still should get enough in the book that we've been buying 4 issues and reviewing. We should get enough here to go for it, but they just basically say everything about it is in that one shot, and that's bullcrap. That is complete bullcrap, and I'm sure our scores are both going to be affected by it, because then really quickly then, after that, Silver Sable does end up, and she goes against the deal. She's sitting there with the helmet on. She takes the helmet off, but still holding it, and ends up having Kurt come and...
Yeah, that's actually a nice kind of a subtle move. There's no dialogue in that scene, well, not that panel, but she takes the helmet off, which should be the signal, I'm off duty. She's breaking kind of the rules that she set up with Kurt because she's under this pressure, and that's when Kurt shows up and gets taken down by the rest of her team.
And the worst part of that is that if he would have shown up and she just kept that mask on, he would have known right away. Obviously, he would have probably bamped out and got away, but at least she broke their personal deal. And that's
right. And I kind of like the way that's shown, that she feels bad about it.
She does feel really bad.
But she doesn't.
But that's where I go back to what you said earlier. Why is she doing it? She's Silver Sable. It doesn't seem like something like maybe you could have figured out a different way to kind of blackmail her than just,
the guy
hey, I'm going to
mention
send
that,
this out.
Oh, you're going to do it because this is the way we make money to keep our country, the poor people in our country fed.
Yep. And she has even said that from the beginning. And
that's her motivation.
So you have that. Yeah. So he gets captured. He ends up, they grab Kurt. Then you go through that.
I would actually like this twist better if it happened just the same way, except there was no gun involved. If he just said, you have to do it. It's your duty. You always live up to your duty. You're all about your people. You're going to betray your semi-boyfriend for your people. And that would be so much better than I pointed a gun at my boss, and
you know what's better than that? Forward. Because that really does, because with the gun pulled, I kind of went with more, he mentioned the stuff, but there's a gun. And so if you would fully, what are you doing, Silver Sable, this is for our people, that kind of twist into very much with Kurt and ignoring the mutant thing. And that's, it really would work out a lot better if it was really that and only that. The idea of, hey, Kurt, I really like you.
Jim, you've gone silent.
This is for my people. Kurt doing something where he's kind of avoiding dealing with his people, but then went to his mom. There's some cool things there, but even so, he gets captured. And then they're there and they're like, oh, we got to see if he's actually Mystique. Is this actually like they're going through these testing, and it seems like they say, yeah, it is Kurt. We'll go forward, and then boom, it ends. And I'm like, why? Like the only thing we really wanted was to see that talk, see what Mystique did, but we have to get a one shot for that, which even if you went through this whole series and ended it with that, I mean, it probably would drive us nuts at the end of issue 5 of, hey, we got to talk, and then it ends, and then we got to go. But at least it would have, I don't know, it would have felt more natural than in the last 4 pages of, hey, and they did. It just seemed like it was like they're laughing at us. But what would you give this?
So there's some good things in this issue. The art always looks great. I kind of like the Silver Sable relationship thing with that one edit that I would put in. But it's just completely, all the good stuff is just wiped away by that one page. And there's no other score I could possibly give this. This book was, the score I'm going to give was created for this book. And of course, that score is the famous Weird Science FU5.
FU5, that's what I am. It's
no other option.
It's there to kick you in the balls, to give you, set you up to want something and then pull it away by the end. So FU5 for me as well.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.